not least, he has been resurrected, folks. The Shape in Halloween Resurrection. Mr. Brad Loree. Gentlemen, welcome. How's everybody's day going?
More good fun.
So, right off the get-go, Larry and I had kind of the same first question. And it comes with both CJ and Brad stepping in halfway through the tail end of the franchise where the character's very much been established versus Lee and Peter coming in at the very beginning of a franchise. CJ and Brad, what did it mean for you guys to kind of carry on that mantle? And then Lee and Peter, what did it mean for you guys to pick it up from the get-go and be able to put your spin on it, for lack of a better term?
Brad, go ahead, buddy.
Well, as I've stated, some of you know, I'm not the world's biggest horror fan, but I'm a huge fan of the first couple of Halloweens. And when I got called into the office to meet everybody, I thought they were looking for a stunt double for Austin Powers, you know, the guy, Micheal Myers, the guy from Toronto. But when they said to me, no, you're going to actually be the guy, the actor, he said, I've got to do this because watching the first Halloween, I thought to myself, this is damn near a masterpiece of any genre. It's not bloody, gory, and violent like other horror films I've seen, but it's just so suspenseful. So anyway, I took the part and passed on the second season of the show I'd been on, which went under in the middle of the third episode, so I made the right choice. Anyway, I just feel very fortunate to be a part of the whole franchise and be one of the guys in the horror genre.
You know, mine was really different. I only missed one scene. The paintball scene, that's not me, but everything else is me. The paintball scene was the original actor, stuntman, was going to do the part. He was a little thicker than I. So when they got the daily back, they weren't really satisfied with the posture. And so that shot was done in the daytime. It was a good stunt. It took a lot of work. So rather than reshoot it, they just kept that scene in it. So I only missed, about 3-4% of the film in one shot, and then was able to pick it up. So I didn't have to characteristically pick up somebody and say, hey, I'm going to do a part. I got to just go ahead and fill that in that part. And here we are 3 decades later talking about it, quite honestly.
I was in my second year of theater school in Montreal studying Shakespeare, and our stunt coordinator were choreographing a sword fight, and he was he's a stunt coordinator from Montreal, and I had taken fencing in high school, and he said, where did you learn how to do that? And I said, high school. There's this guy who's doing this movie. He says, how high are you? High? How tall are you? I said, I'm 6 feet. Perfect, because all of the actors in the film that are red herrings were all 6 feet. So he said, what are you doing on the weekend? And I said, nothing. So he took me over to the director's house in Montreal. And in Montreal, you have these walk-ups, these old Victorian walk-ups. And if you're at the top of the stairs, you pull a cord and the door opens. Well, the door opened and it knocked this goaltender's hockey stick on the floor. And I picked it up and I swung it like this in my hand. And George Mihalka, the director, came around the corner and he said, are you a goaltender? I said, yeah, you're a goaltender. He says, yeah. Okay, you got the part. And that's how I got the part.
Wow. So I got the part with Wes, and I'd known Wes for a long time. My very first Wes Craven film was Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Alright, and here we are doing Scream 1, 10 years ago. When was Nightmare 1? About 94? 84. 86. So I had a long history with Wes, so he knew me. I worked with Drew Barrymore before, so I knew Drew. Decided to be a relationship with her. And our stunt coordinator and our scene director, Tony Caesar, was one who brought me to the business. And so it was a really easy fit because I had all the components. The great part was to sit down with Wes maybe 20 minutes before we actually shot the scene where I chased him down the next Saturday. And that's where we actually brought the concept of who is Ghostface. And that was it was a great 10-15 minutes of interaction with Wes and myself, fleshing out this character and ideas out. And this is, just remember out of everything, Ghostface moves like a phantom. And so I took that and ran with that. That was probably the most important input on that character development, was that key from West. And we ran with that, and hopefully that came across the character for the first couple of them.
All right, so Michael Vieira, who was the killer in Slumber Party Massacre, he did not interact with the cast when he was filming the role, so they were able to separate themselves from him as a killer. How did you guys interact with the cast? Did you engage with them, or did you just stay away from them?
Well, for me, there's a difference between stunt people and the actors and actresses. I didn't know that at the time because I wasn't either. But they stay apart for the most part. So I worked out of the back of a 5-ton pickup for the most days, doing my makeup. I didn't have a trailer or any of that kind of stuff. So you'll see photos that are out there of me working. You'll see in the back of the trailer, you'll see me laying down in the back of the trailer with a sandbag for a blanket or a pillow. So my separation was like night and day. I didn't really see any of the principals whatsoever until we got back to LA and finished up some shots in the 20-foot pool and in Griffith Park. And I really got to know who the principals were. But at that point, I didn't really associate with them at all. When I stepped on the scene, it was the first time they'd seen me. And not knowing much about the industry, I kept my mouth shut to begin with. So that was my story.
Being a stud guy, I'm very used to just going to set when they need me and hanging out in my trailer the rest of the time, which is what I did on Resurrection. I had a lot of fun with the principals when we were rehearsing and when we were shooting the scenes, but it wasn't like we were socializing in the chairs by video village. I was in my room all the time. So, not to be antisocial, but just to, I didn't want to get too friendly with them and vice versa, because I wanted to make it easier for them to be afraid of me. So that was my mindset.
I can't hear you. Did you hang up? I said, did you stay away from the cast so they had a fear of it?
Oh, no. We were all very young, mid-20s, and it's been 45 years, and still we're the best of friends, all of us. We, about half of the cast members were in theater school, some in Montreal, some in Toronto, and the ones in Montreal, I'd already done a couple of Shakespeare shows, so we knew each other really well, and we had a great time. The only thing I couldn't do is go out and drink at night. They could, but I couldn't.
Look at you all, the best that you are, all that Shakespeare stuff, man. It's good company to keep. And you got to remember, so I've done a film with Drew before, so I knew Drew well, and she's a real pro, right? So she's so great at her craft that she flips it like white. So if you guys saw Scream, which most of y'all do, I mean, she's in full-on hysterics when she's in her character. And as soon as they yell cut, man, she snaps out of that, she's right and perky and having fun, and we're laughing and having a great time. But when the action hits, she's right back to falling apart. And back in our time, you see back in that time, 30 plus years ago, a lot of times it was stunt guys, stunt women, sequestered almost from actors and actresses. Now it's quite the opposite. Now the actors and actresses they got under a contract, they love them, they flex on them, no, I'm not going to go do that. Like, it's not a person do it. So it's 180 off from back in the day. Extreme one. A lot of people, when you take, all of us up here, when you take and put a mask on and you take away facial features, we have to convey that emotion through the physical actions, right, through that presence. And it's not easy, right? So you take a bit of any creature work or mask work, and when you put that mask on, that whole facial recognition is going on. So you have to portray that character, through your actions and bring it to life in such a way. Now, when I shot with Drew, I was an actor first, stuntman second. You know, we're shooting at night, you're in mask, you can't see, you got one eye if you're lucky, right? And then you got to hit marks, and then I got to take care of my leading lady above all. Because we are, even though it was a prop knife, it's still sharp pointy blade, right? Now you do that on action, you're running, it's dark, all those. So that's where the stunt portion came in for me, was to protect her, make sure that we did the right and safe. And the acting portion was to do the West what we wanted to see, and package it all in and do it in 1 or 2 takes.
I think that as stunt guys, when you're dubbing actors in particular, part of our job is to be able to mimic physically their gait and their nuances. And I felt I did my best to mimic Nick Castle, because to me he is Michael Myers. I mean, I watched all the guys, and I always went back to the first one. And also, you couldn't have had an actor do the fight scene on Buster Rhymes where he gets kicked from the window to down off the roof. That had to be a stunt guy. Which is why they reuse us when we're in a mask and going heck along. So, but no, the stunt training was very, very important to successful.
You know, I'm going to take a different approach. Unfortunately or fortunately, I'd never been to stunt school, guys, so I've never been on stage. So everything for me was OJT. But I had a great stunt coordinator that sat me down and gave me the lecture that they've just given you, that the facts are you are a prop, a stunt person, and safety is first. Period. Those actors and actresses are dependent on you to make those decisions with those sharp objects at night with one eye and not hurt them, but they're not allowed to hurt you, is the bottom line. So if they take a punch and it hurts, suck it up. You know, don't be move on down the road. So for me, it was just all OJT on the job training. The opportunity to learn everything from my stunt coordinator and to be taught on set as I went through it. You know, some of us were a little luckier than others. I was very lucky. I got an opportunity to do a job. I think we did a good job and delivered a product that 3 decades later is still holding up to what's going on out there when it comes to icon horror. So I think we did a good job.
Because I was in the second year of theater school, I'd already taken Commedia dell'arte, which is high mask work, Italian mask work. So that is a silent, well, it's a milieu in theater where you express, like Ghostface or any other killers, the internal emotion comes out externally through the mask. The only interesting thing about My Bloody Valentine was that the very first shot that we did was the killing of Happy, the bartender. And at that time, I had nothing on my mask. There was just clear glass. And so after the second or third shot, the director went, cut, cut, cut. I can see right through your mask. And we had a production manager who was kind of like a road runner, trying to keep things on track all the time. And he said, well, let's just color his face black with some cork. And we'll blacken his face. And George looks at me and goes, there's no black guys in this movie. We can't color his face black. So growing up as a kid in Quebec, I was a gearhead, a lot of cars and stuff like that. So I said, why don't we just take the glass to a tint shop and we'll tint it purple black. Ooh, good idea, good idea. So we finished the rest of the movie, the rest of the scene, and if you stop that shot, you can see right through the mask into my cheek. So back to being a stunt person, the only way I could see, you could only see through one eye. If my headlamp wasn't on, I couldn't see anything. So I always had to act with my headlight. So at the end of the day, from pointing my head down, like this all the time, the back of my neck was so stiff after 12 hours of shooting, but it's the only way I could see where I was going in the mind. So that helped with the caricature of the miner in those sweet little shots.
So, I know that a couple of you guys have worked in fan films, but what are your thoughts about fan films? I know, Peter, you did Valentine's Club. CJ, you worked as the last Vorhees in the Vengeance series. What are your guys' thoughts on fan films? Do you find them important at all?
Well, I mean, the fan films, you know, I just call them independents because the VHS because they resonate with the fans more. So I think the ones I did was Eli as Vorhees, which was Jason's father. They had me grow a beard for 6 months and put a long wig on me. I looked like a Viking basically out in the woods. And I was Jason's father. There's always been talk about Jason Voorhees having a father in Elias, but never on film, but in the book. When you read the book about it, you can see it's there. So for me to play it. And then, of course, coming back and looking at the fan films, that without the fans, let's be honest, we wouldn't be sitting up here. So thank you to the fans. So when there's an opportunity to do a fan or an independent, I try to lean forward to assist because, again, I wouldn't be who I am today without the fans. So humbly appreciative of that fact. So I try to embrace them as much as possible.
For the fan film, I only gave them a bunch of money. I think that fan films are, for professionals, a very humbling experience. As much as someone like you coming to the table and asking for your autograph, to me, that's always been a very humbling experience, and I feel grateful for all of you out there that would want to produce a movie that you like, and then alternatively come to the table and ask for my autograph. So I'm just thankful for that.
I have not had a lot of experience with fan films, but I think I love the idea of anybody taking advantage of the advancement in technology today, because they're making films with iPhones, and you don't know who the next Steven Spielberg is going to be. And there's a young stunt kid up in Vancouver that just did a 9-minute short with a bunch of people I know, and I was absolutely stunned with how good it looked. He wrote and directed, and it looks like absolutely top-notch quality feature quality. So I encourage anybody that has any inkling that they feel they want to direct or try acting. I mean, do what you can. I mean, the old days you had to have an 8 millimeter camera. Who could afford that? But today, if you've got a phone that has video on it, you can make your own movie. Just keep it clean, kids.
I love doing those fan films, or those independents. Like I said, it's very humbling, and it's still refreshing at this point in my career, so to speak. I've been retired out of films since 2015, 2016, and then to kind of come back after some time off, and it kind of reminds me of like film school and guerrilla filmmaking, and those independents, because it's just pure fun. It's not a $300 million production with 14 of this, 100 of those. And it's usually, skeleton crew, maybe 1 or 2 cameras max, and craft services like the taco truck. It's so fun to do. It's so humbling to do that. It's so refreshing. You really enjoy that experience. And I've done 2 or 3 now. And it's just so fun to kind of go back there and play around. And like you said earlier, there's no better time now in history, as an artist, whatever that art form is, to get it out in front of them. Because as an artist or artist, what a better time is there to get your product in front of people to see. If you're going to sell it, great. But if you just want to have your art seen, look at, back in our day, that was well before the web. We didn't have, 20 million followers on a YouTube account or Instagram account on stuff. That access is now available. So as an artist or as a young artist, go do it. Just get it out there, produce it, get it out there. Like I said, we do it on a cell phone. It's incredible. Everything's done in 4K. 8K is common, 12K is being out there. But in reality, everything goes out at like 2K. So you can get a great product with very little output. And it's a great time to be doing indie films and fun stuff like that. I love it. I'm a big fan.
One last question before we get to your guys' questions, so we make sure we have plenty of time to get them all answered. What does it mean to each of you respectively to look back now and say, I am Jason Voorhees, I am Ghostface, I am Micheal Myers, I am Henry Warden. Like, what has that become for you? Interactions with the fandom versus the reception that the film film has had over time. Like, all 4 of your movies are beloved by the horror fandom, and I believe they forever will be. And I am so stoked, I know Larry is too, to have the opportunity to sit with you four at the same table. We had talked about before you guys got here, like, probably the first time, maybe the only time we have each of you together like this in a setting like this. You know, I know horror cons, you guys may run into each other, but to be able to say, like, the original Valentine's, Halloween Resurrection, Ghostface, Friday the 13th Part 6, which I love forever, from everything from the Frankenstein beginning to the massive kills that CJ does with such conviction. Like, what does it mean to be able to say you are a part of these franchises to you?
Well, I can tell you for me, and I got a feeling that the answers are all going to be of similarity. It only takes one event in this industry to put you in an iconic image. You know, everybody has talked about being an actor, actress, or a stuntman, and they do a lot of different things, but I worked with a gentleman named Ted White, Jason Part 4. Ted White, as he said, is a legend. People know Ted White's name because he did over 100 films in his career, working with John Wayne, Cary Grant, etc. We're talking old school. Funny thing is, sitting on a panel like this with him, he would sit here and tell you, and I'll say how he said it. I've done over 100 films with all these big stars, but only people remember me is because I played Jason. So think about that. He did over 100 films, but nobody remembers all the films, but they do remember he played Jason, Part 4, Friday the 13th.
So, you know, I'm super humbled and super blessed, and we all are. We up here talking about it, and to have you guys, you know, come out here and see us and have us sign really cool stuff. And for me, you know, bringing Ghostface to life in the West, super blessed. And I didn't realize it at the time. It was just like a West Bailey film. And but here we are 30 years later, and I get to carry that torch, which in a sense keeps Wes's, you know, legacy alive. And I have been shouldered that. It's a blessing to do that. I'm very humble and very blessed and pleased, and it's an honor to be associated with Wes like Ghostface.
For me, when they called me into the office that day, I was doing it as a professional courtesy because I was working on a wrestling kids show for Fox, and for the first time in my life was making really, really good money. And I had absolutely no intention of taking the job. Again, because I thought I was going to be the stunt double. They told me I was going to be Micheal Myers. Because I so loved the first Halloween job, the actor me, like I said, I decided to do it. You know, if they had asked me to play any other person, I don't even know if they had asked me to play Jason if I had done it. Because I was so determined to go back to the second season of this Los Luchadors show. But they told me I was going to be Micheal Myers, and they took that job, and I'm now part of the franchise. It was like one of the best decisions my gut ever told me to make, and I couldn't be more proud. I know that Resurrection isn't everyone's favorite Halloween, but it's one of mine.
I think for me, it's more of a personal part of my life. Like I said before, 45 years ago next year, all these people that I work with are still my best friends. We're still on Facebook. And then before the pandemic in 2020, my wife and I were bicycling through Italy, and George Mahalka was working on a script in Hungary, much like Game of Thrones. It was set in the 1200s. And so I phoned him up and I said, hey, we're in Italy. He said, come on over, you know, like it's only an hour and a half away on a plane. So we spent the whole weekend with him, and he and I are really good friends, almost best friends, really. So for me, it's the longevity of this film. For the fans, it means something. For me, it's more about continuing a friendship through your life.
Awesome. So now, you guys, if you have some questions for the panel, please raise your hand. Yeah, right here.
Because when you do
do a job, oftentimes you don't think you're gonna do something like you do a bunch of films, and you're like, just another job, another job. What was for you the moment that you went, holy crap, I've now become an icon? When did you have that kind of flash of like, okay, this is something special? I just wanted to bring up the fact that sometimes you do jobs on the industry and you're like, this is just another job. But when did that moment hit when you did, your characters, you did your which became iconic for, that you realized, holy crap, I just did something really special and I cannot believe that this is happening. You got that moment of, wow.
I think in the last 20 years, it's become quite obvious the iconic image of the horror characters from the 80s, 90s. Back when you did it, as I said earlier, you get a part, you get a lot of parts, but it only takes one part to put you on the map. And maybe 15 years ago with the convention starting to pick up, I remember doing Comic-Con in San Diego, started 20 years ago, and that was one of your biggest Comic-Cons. Then as Monster Mania and Spooky Empire and Sinister came along, before you knew it, they were everywhere. And the base grew. There's fans that are 70 years old, there's fans that are 6 years old, everything in between. So in the last 15 years probably it's really started to create, and now it's really become so popularized that, 10 years ago, everywhere you go, if somebody finds out you played a character of that magnitude, they'll start looking at you too. But the nice thing is you can still have dinner. They're not be bothered because nobody knows who you are. But I will tell you, there are places where I go and they still, I've had TSA agents look at my ID and go, that played Jason. Yeah, really. You know the name, you may not know the face, but you know the character.
I don't even know. I'm still getting uncomfortable once somebody tells me that I'm an icon. They're like, oh, you're an icon. But I'm like, nah, I'm just an actor, stunt guy, whatever. That badging of that level of accomplishment, that doesn't. I'm not used to it. It's been 3 or 4 years since I started doing these conventions, and it still doesn't set correctly. I don't know if I'll ever get comfortable with that. So, like I said, I'm glad to take the moniker and run with it and keep Wes's vision of Ghostface alive, but I still don't think in the context of it, when people start realizing who I am for what I am.
So the aha moment for me, I had a number of them. I literally every day I was pitching myself in the whole 6 weeks, but when they told me you're not going to double the guy, you're going to beat Micheal Myers, that was an aha moment. Hanging off the side of the set where Jamie Lee Curtis kisses me and says, I'll see you in hell. That was an aha moment. But going up to Mustafa Akkad, who's the original, I think he was the creator of the franchise, and I was really intimidated because it's Mustafa Akkad, but I said, Mr. Akkad, I'm a huge horror fan, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely loved the first Halloween movie, and he just put his hand on my face and said, it would have been just that much better if you'd been in it. And I just thought that was so sweet, brings tears to my eyes thinking about it today, but that was it for me.
Let's see, years later, my wife and I were off to a trip to Hawaii, and it was for my birthday. My birthday is the day before Christmas. And anyway, the flight attendant was checking the itinerary, and she said, oh, it's your birthday. Were you in a movie called My Bloody Valentine? I said, yes, I was. But we weren't sitting in first class. We were sitting in economy. So about 5 minutes later, she brings 2 glasses of champagne. And everybody in economy is looking at us like, who the these guys? So then the captain comes on the plane, over the intercom, and he says, I'm sorry, everyone, we have to get off the plane. There's a problem in the galley. Well, they found a mouse in the galley, so we had to get off the plane and wait for an hour, and then we get on the next plane, and the flight attendant comes to economy and gives us 2 more glasses of champagne, and everybody's like, who the fuck are these guys? So that was one little stint of the tour.
Next question.
Right here. So, outside of the horror genre, what have been some movies that you guys enjoy or TV series that you guys watch?
We get sometimes.
Outside of the horror genre, so outside of horror,
Yeah, right.
what do you guys like to watch or?
Oh, what do we like to watch as opposed to what we worked on?
Yeah, just like
right?
what movies have you liked recently?
Oh, okay. Okay. CJ?
I'm ex-military, so, I like anything that's got action to it, Troy, all those type of things, anything that's related to that type of background. But that's just, my wife thinks it's boring, she'd rather see something more intellectual. But at the same time, I want to see them bang, bang, shoot 'em.
Yeah, action's always good, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't seen anything lately. I don't really watch movies that much. But when I do, I like practical. Like, I like Tarantino. He's one of my favorite directors. I like what he produces and then puts out as a director. I like watching his stuff. Once again, that's real practical movie. He doesn't do a lot of CG. So that's kind of where I like that genre. It doesn't matter what the genre is, but I like real practical movie making still. I'm not a big fan of computer-generated stuff. To some degree, yes, I think it's necessary, but I think it got a little bit of what we use in the last 15 years. Maybe not, definitely the last 10.
Being a stunt guy, I'm supposed to like action films, and there aren't many that I do. I grew up watching Kung Fu films, being a Bruce Lee fan, but as a man, as an adult, I really like films that tackle the human condition and what it means to be in relationship with yourself, with other people, romantic relationships. As long as they're done realistically and are believable. I think some of the environment and climate today, we don't need to get into that, but I don't find it terribly realistic, but I like a good film that looks at the psychology of human behavior.
I want you to think about that. Michael talking about human behavior. And figure that one out, okay?
When my wife is home, we watch romantic comedies. And when she's away, I watch all the Viking series because my ancestry is Viking and Irish. And I guess that's why I had a penchant for sword fighting.
Yeah, time for a few more.
When you guys were filming, have you ever improvised a scene? And how did it turn out for you? Like, did you do any improvisations?
Well, with the exception of action and cut, it is pretty much improvising, just so you know. Your job again is the safety of the actors around you. You know what you're supposed to do. You're 20 feet underwater, breathing off a regulator and chained down. You can't go too far. You can signal for air real fast. But when it comes to the actor that's down there with you, you've got to hold their neck or their legs. More important, I can't see anything. I've got one eyeball and pitch black, so I don't see nothing. I can hear the camera clicking, and I know what my job is to move and whatever the actor and I decided that he could get away with. But at that, the limitations are usually from, action to cut. Perfection is the only word you can use.
Yeah, I don't think I did too much improv, acting-wise or stunt-wise. The directors that I worked with kind of knew what they wanted, and I stayed in the lines. My job as an actor, or even as a stunt guy, was to give the director what they're after, and I was pretty straight, by the book guy. Like, hey, here's my lines, here's what's standing, and we go. They might give you a little room, or like, hey, I kind of like that body language or something, or that head take. That was fine, but I never really had the opportunity, or took the opportunity, I should say, to go off script.
Yeah, as stunt guys, I always found I got in trouble if I tried to stray from the script too much, Big name actors, star names, they can improvise because quite often they have better ideas than the original script, but the stunt guys don't do that. It's hard enough getting proper direction sometimes, because I have more than one occasion, okay, Brad, when I yell action, you punch this guy, you kick that guy, hit that guy with a chair, then go out the door. So on action, you punch this guy, you kick that guy, hit that guy with a chair, you go out the door. Cut! you come back and there's the director shaking his head, well, not like that! So, that's a true story.
Improv.
Like the guys are saying, everything's scripted and it has to be very, very precise, especially because you have the other actors' safety and concern. When I did a lot of horse stunts up in Vancouver, that's just fair game because the horse is going to do what he wants to do. So that was always a lot of fun.
This is more of a comment than it is. I just want to thank each and every one of you for shaping our childhood, shaping our adulthood, making our spooky season what it is, and for just being the amazing humans you are, and for giving us characters that we can believe in without ever saying a word. So thank you.
So I know it's going to be kind of trite since, Freddie's asking this question, but I got to know, as stars in horror, has there ever been a horror movie that gave you guys a nightmare?
Well, Freddie's a pedophile, so I don't care about Freddie. And this guy uses a butter knife, and this other guy uses a little, Outback steak knife. I only know about the men that are using machetes. All right, so I'm gonna let it go at that. That's the brotherly comment between OGs that we have having fun. We insult to each other, and at the same time respecting each other. That's a fact. So. I personally, I just enjoyed the horror genre. I'm an old Universal horror movie, black and white, okay? But the opportunity to play Jason unexpectedly has just, came out to be something that it is today. So I'm just more, as they were saying, I'm more humbly appreciative that we get to do it and see you. And Reagan, Fred.
I don't know about you guys, but the one that still sticks with me, even as an adult, I hate those flying monkeys. Yeah. I hate the flying monkeys. Yeah.
The question was, is there films that scare us?
Yeah, like a horror movie, like anything gave you that.
Besides yourself.
Yeah, besides looking at the mirror.
Anything under the horror umbrella makes me. That's why I don't watch them. It's not my source of where I can go for fear. If I want to get shit scared, I'll drop acid and ride the roller.
Now, we're not encouraging you to do that. There's a disclaimer on that comment. That's what I'm know right now.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I think Rosemary's Baby, that really freaked me out.
Yeah, that's dark.
Well, and finding out what scares them, so to speak, folks, that is our time. So let's hear it for